It's another year and another Independence Day for a people at war. Once again, the time has come for Ambazonians across the globe to unite and celebrate their independence on October 1st. A day of pride, hope, and renewed purpose is upon us.
As we mark this significant occasion with cultural representations, dances, military parades from the Ambazonian State Army, all eyes will turn to the leader of the revolution.
Fellow Ambazonians, patriotic diasporas, I salute all of you gathered around our flag on this national day, our Independence Day.
President Samuel Ikome Sako on the eve of Independence Day. Join us on September 30th at 8 p.m. as President Samuel Ikome Sako addresses the nation.
Today, as the Never Again generation, we have one assignment: to right this great wrong through the sword of justice, with the flame of our courage and the undying spirit of our righteous resolve. So whether we live or die, let it be for Ambazonia.
In these trying times, amidst an 8-year conflict with La République du Cameroon, President Sako's words are expected to spark hope and chart a new direction.
Let me tell you again in a simple language. The person who does not want his neighbor to sleep should expect a knock on his door.
While the date for the war to end remains uncertain, brace yourselves for a roadmap towards a smarter prosecution of our liberation movement, a vision full of promise and determined leadership. Prepare to be inspired as we honor our journey and look forward to a brighter future.
To remind the world of our genocide and the injustice done to us as a nation by France and the complicit international community. Share our story with passion and courage, knowing that no one feels our pain more than we do, and no one knows our story more than those who have lived it, us. Let us fight as one man.
Tune in live across all multimedia platforms and catch this monumental speech only on your favorite TV channel. Don't miss this pivotal moment. Together, let's reignite the spirit of Ambazonia.
This Independence Day, immerse yourself in the words of our leader. Be part of history in the making.
Good evening, fellow Ambazonians, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to this very important broadcast. It's another day when Ambazonians sit back to review 7 years into a war, a senseless war, rightfully represented and fought. A senseless war declared by Biya on a peace-loving people on the 30th of November 2017. And how did it all begin? This same day, 7 years ago, we were counting about the 10th month of a political uprising within the Cameroons. And how did it all start? The lawyers and teachers of the Southern Cameroons stood up to ask questions and to seek for reforms within the Charles de Gaulle's experiment. I call it a brutal experiment, the triangle you call La République du Cameroon. It was a failed relationship, and now a nation, a sovereign nation recognized by international law, was brutally annexed, and Cameroon was at the close of annihilating a generation of people. Now, our lawyers were brutally abused, as you all know, And within a very short time, we had a transition of many leaders. It started from the consortium leaders, then to the interim consortium leaders, to the SCACUV leadership that was headed by Deacon Tassang Wilfred, and then to the governing council. This same day, 7 years ago, the people of the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, seated globally, were listening to instruction from the governing council leadership headed by the former president of the interim government, President Sisiko. And we were planning as a people to speak one voice. Just under 24 hours, the people of Ambazonia will be making history. 7 years ago, they would go out in their numbers, in their millions, in every continent and almost every country of the world, especially in our national territory. We had Ambazonians going out to make a statement and to tell the world that we now know, and we know that we deserve a place in the world of nations. And we feel that our national sovereignty should be respected. Cameroon will react with a brutal genocide that has lasted for 7 years. I call that same day the day that the good, the bad, and the ugly happened in our nation. That day, it was recorded by Cameroon media and their proxy that at least 122 civilian lives were lost. Let's say it was only 10. Why should peaceful protesters be shot point blank with iron bullets for merely asking legitimate questions and protesting? Then our people took the responsibility that we would have to restore our dignity. That's going to be encapsulate a larger part of our discussion this evening as we seek to mobilize stakeholders of the government of Ambazonia to redeem their pledges made towards the federal government. It is worthy to mention that in less than 10 days, we will also be celebrating once again our Independence Day. So for that to happen, resources will need to radiate towards the offices that be, and one of these institutions that will require you to make your donations will be ABC Amba TV. We'll get right into the discussion immediately after the break. Stay tuned. Good evening, Barrister Fru. Good evening, Barrister Team, Mbeseha. Good evening, Commander Willy. I hope I can see you on my screens. Oh, apparently Barrister Mbeseha is frozen, so we may have to verify to know exactly what is happening with him. But maybe you want to greet the people. Let me try to see if I can connect him. I also want to be sure, I'll be looking into the chats. I want to be sure that those who are connected via Zoom can actually hear us. I'm also encouraging those who are connected via Zoom to share the Zoom link and invite more people. We will try to make our conversation this evening as brief as possible. I'm calling also on those who are watching us via Facebook and YouTube. We have managed to be able to stream somehow on YouTube, but that might just be temporary. We hope it's long lasting. For those who are able to connect via our website, you can watch us 24/7 live. We're streaming live on Android, and it has not been officially announced to the public, but we currently streaming on Android, iOS. Hopefully, we can have iOS before Independence Day. But we are streaming live on Android. We're streaming live via our website 24/7, and we're streaming live via satellite in sub-Saharan Africa, in Abidjan, in Ghana, Nigeria, and all of Central Africa. You can catch ABC Amba TV live. Barrister Fru, Commander Willy, good evening and welcome to this program.
Yeah, good evening, Paddy. Thank you very much
Can you hear
for
me?
another Saturday. Thank you very much for another Saturday, Ambazonia this week. The Ambazonian this week, we are celebrating the 7 years of the peaceful march of our people on the ground to recover their sovereignty and their independence. It was on the 22nd of September that every Southern Cameroonian came out. We need to remind ourselves of this event because the date is the anniversary is tomorrow. Let me say that on that fateful day and on the 1st of October 2017, La République de Cameroon used helicopter gunships that were given to them by the United States to rain down bullets on armed people of the Southern Cameroons, and 122 youths lost their lives that day. That is documented statistics. And from that day, for 62, from that day, the 62, more than 62 years, 63 years of being in the desert were being remembered by our people. Now, it is important for us to know exactly how we got here and to see where we're going. First, Mr. Biya attended a conference with his peers, with the sellouts of Africa, along with the French, somewhere in Ivory Coast. I don't know what transpired, but when he landed in Semalen Airport, he took out a piece of paper from his pocket and read a war declaration against the people of the Southern Cameroons and Ambazonia. And he commanded his troops the following day, allez à Manfé dans la Manu, je vous donne 2 semaines, vous êtes en mission pour 2 semaines, fini le travail. Well, they got to Manfé. What did they see? They saw the young people and they started shooting on our young people. Our young people were not prepared. Nobody in the Southern Cameroon was prepared for war. They shot on our young people that day, that week. We lost more than 1,000 of our youth in Manu division. They had nothing to fight back. They had only sticks and clubs. Not even then guns, because nobody was expecting that anybody was coming to come and fight. And what can a then gun do? Well, the boys and girls and old men died without knowing why they were dying. I remember the image of an old man in Manfé pushing his bicycle and was shot point blank by a Bulu Beti soldier. The man did not know what was happening. He was coming in back from the farm. And thereafter, every corner of the Southern Cameroons got the message. And we mobilized without arms, with nothing except then guns and rubber gun. That image is still very, very clear in my mind, with rubber guns and what we had at our disposal to no avail. We lost a lot of our people. We can count about 60,000 to 65,000 that we have lost so far. Well, I don't want to be a devil. I'm not a devil's advocate to know, but I want to predict that La Republic of Cameroon, those soldiers that went on that mission, I don't think one is living. They too have lost people. They have lost soldiers in their thousands. What was the reason for this fight? What was the reason for declaring war on a part of a country that you call part of your people? Apparently, Mr. Biya had known, because he knows everything that, if there's one person who knows the history of Cameroon, it should be Mr. Biya. He had known that he was fighting a foreign country. So we mobilized and we fought back. It took some time before we had the first AK-47 from the black market. And from there on, the guerrilla war was launched. And listen, I will ever live to remember our people in Manu for the sacrifice, for the fighting back that they did to give us the courage to stand up. Until today, Manu is the epicenter of the struggle of the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. And from there on, the fight went all over the southern Cameroons. We have won, we are winning, we have won so far, and La Republic has tactically withdrawn, but coming back in bits and pieces to murder our people. They come back bits and bits and collect our people to collect money. They do what they want to do to subdue us. Listen, the war is still on. We are still fighting La Republic of Cameroon because they are coming back on the ground. They come back in hiding. They come back, they try to imitate guerrilla warfare, but it's not working for them. We will use our method, whatever method we have developed, to make sure that they leave our territory. We will continue to fight. One other thing, Paddy, our people in the diaspora were not left out in this fight. We have been financing this fight single-handedly from the year 2019-2020 by a very smart president that we had. He introduced the war draft. The war draft has done what it was supposed to do. We have fought the war on our own terms and with our own finances.
Fru, let me come in there. We're going to try to make our contributions a little bit succinct because we do not have all day to prosecute this conversation. Professor Epote, please be typing to me because I've tried not to make echoes. I don't get what you people say on the Zoom. I know that I'm streaming on Zoom, but I don't get what you're saying. So try to type to me and indicate at least 30 minutes before time when you feel that we should be rounding off the program. So you have given to us a very intelligent preamble of this discussion this evening, Barrister Fru. It couldn't have been explained any better. This is not a history we are reading in any book. This is a history that we are living and documenting for ourselves. So there is no way that anyone would distort it. Cameroon, by themselves, told the world that their army killed 122 civilians in a single day for simply going out. That was on the 22nd. And let me seize this opportunity to remind every Ambazonian that tomorrow by 10 a.m. Ambazonia time, 10 a.m. Eastern time and 3 p.m. Ambazonian time, we will have the women will be together to do some form of a ritual or whatever they want to do. But the objective, the prime objective, is to remember the events and the unfoldings of the 22nd of September. Also, something very remarkable that will be happening will be you may want to try to control the volume at your end, Barrister Mbeseha. Is the fact that this day has been christened by the president and made to understand that officially maybe the president will be announcing that this evening, but this day has been christened rightfully so as Revolution Day. Indeed, it was a Revolution Day. We saw from every small corner of Ambazonia
You put your stomach in now.
people
Sydney.
coming out to make their voices heard. So, Commander Willie, let me hear. I know you have a lot to say this evening. I just will want you before we get into the details of why we came here to give us a backdrop of the memory you have about the 21st of um, of September 2017, when the chairperson of the governing council was touring the world, internationalizing our movement, our liberation movement, sensitizing and calling on every Southern Cameroonian. I believe at that time he was somewhere in the United States, and calling on every Southern Cameroonian to see the need to unite their voices in this claim that we are defending today. Talk to us, Commander Willie. You want to unmute yourself? I think you're muted.
Fellow Ambazonia, Sheikh Node, remember Papa with the greet now. People of the world, we come to greet you people. My name is Willy. I'm the county coordinator for Manu County. With respect to this war, the war started in Manu, as you can see. And on that day, on the 22nd of September 2017, we lost a Manu person on that day by name Mr. Are Egbe. He was shot by the senior division officer from Manfe, from Manu, Mr. Omde. The senior divisional officer came out from his office with his personal pistol and shot Mr. Are Egbe personally, and he died. So for that reason, on behalf of the people of Manu and on behalf of the people of Ambazonia, from October 1st this year, 2024, all the commander of Manu will be honoring Mr. Are Egbe as a hero. And for that reason, every Sunday moving forward in Manu County, only motorcycle will circulate. It's not a lockdown. Every Sunday moving forward in Manu County, starting October the 1st of this year, only motorcycle will circulate within Manu County. No vehicle. Anybody that wants to try will see it. We are here to let you know that the war is still continuing. Barrister Fru, I've already given you the history. I'm not going through the history. I'm going to go through the geography and what we're going to do. So starting October 1st of this year, every Sunday in Manu County is not a ghost town, but there will be no circulation of any vehicle of any type. No circulation. People can move, go around, do their business, do what they want to do, but there will be no circulation. If we catch your car, we're going to burn it with the content inside. All the motorcycle will circulate to honor Mr. Are Egbe, and that stands. All the Manu County ASA, the mobile wings, they have been put into place, and they all brought this to my attention. So over to you. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. We'll get more into that, and as we examine the things that are happening, or the situational report of the lockdown, post-lockdown, and the unrest on the ground. By Mbeseha, I've resolved that I'll be shutting down your sound and give you sound only when you want to speak, because you seem not to be able to control your environment very much, or to have control of the sound of your environment. Now you just want to give us a backdrop of these 7 years that we have been counting, so that we can get started.
Well, thank you for having me once more. I'm sorry for the network problems, but here I am. There was no opportunity to hear what Mbeseha Nsoh said. But guessing from what Willie has just said, I hope he talked about the history, and Willie has talked about the geography. Let me choose my own angle, which should be a little bit strategic, so we can deal with the whole thing. Now, this is 2008. 2004, almost 8 years into this trouble. Where are you coming from and where we're going to is the most important thing I want us to look at now, going forward. And I will just choose a few events. When Paul Biya on the 30th of November declared the war and said were nothing, they were going to eliminate these cockroaches, whatever thing you call it, within 24 hours or 72 hours, whatever length of time. 72 hours has turned into 8 years. They've not done it. But that was Paul Biya speaking the language of somebody. Which language was Paul Biya talking? He was speaking the language of France. Because everything Paul Biya does, or anybody president in Cameroon does it with the authority of France. And then he made transition into France. A few months ago, we saw the president of France, through his surrogates, the ambassador in Yaoundé, come to Bamenda. His coming to Bamenda was strategically important and significant because this is the almighty France. He came to Bamenda, stood at up station, wearing West uniform, and above all, carrying the peace plans. What we call King. And what was he saying? We were begging for peace. Where was the war? Where had the war gone to? They were not asking for peace. That France, because that's the French ambassador, is also a general in the French army. If the most powerful army is turned into peace plans, asking for peace, in fact, begging for peace, promising gold and silver that they will never deliver in return for peace, it all tells us that we are so far advanced. The enemy is on his knees. Fast forward to today, and this lockdown that just ended. Before coming online, I received a message from the home front. Someone forwarded me a message from there, copied from what Mr. Okala Bilai said yesterday or so. What the Okala Bilai said? Okala Bilai said, well, this lockdown thing, he doesn't know what to do again. He doesn't know what to do with these people called Anglophones. He had done everything possible as a governor. You know, the war started in his guide, under his guide, and he's still there with Lily Africa. He had done everything. He has called us dogs. He has fought us militarily. He has done everything that is humanly possible. This is quoting Mr. Okala Bilai. And they have not succeeded. According to him, he does not know what to do next. He does not understand these so-called Anglophones, according to him. And so this is where we are. Are we winning? Of course. Based on these parameters, looking back, we can say that they are winning. We're actually on the right track. And so, just to add to what Mbeseha Nsoh said, and Mr. Commissioner Willy said, we can also say that we have to multiply efforts. This victory would never have taken us to this point if we didn't sacrifice. We sacrificed human lives, we sacrificed from our pockets, and we sacrificed everything that we could, you and me and many others. Probably if we die now, our corpses will never even see back home. That's part of the sacrifices for the liberation of Ambazonia. And again, this morning I saw a document written by some guys from the home front. I guess Paddy Asati was forwarded to me. It's such a powerful analysis of the problem. It is titled, Why the Republic Will Go Arrest Anglophones, Ambazonians, and lock them on on October 1st, rather than negotiate with them. It's a very rich document. When I had that document, I followed up. And the guy suggested, I discussed with the guy, and we thought that would be a good idea. We'll find time, if possible, translate that document into French, make a presentation about it, so that Francophones will learn something that they refuse to tell them. And again, just this morning, I saw something they've been talking. I'm dealing with this war all the time. They were discussing on their normal platforms and asking what to do. And someone, an Anglophone, said, address the root causes. The guy said, no. We are dealing, he said, look, address Anglophone. The guy said, no, how do you go address separatists? The Ambazonians, he called them, the Anglophones, came to the table, came complaining in 2016. They brought corporatist problems, and they've all been resolved. That took me to what I'm going to end with. The Francophones, as a bloc, have redefined this struggle wrongly, deliberately, or inadvertently. In 2016, what the teachers did was not a corporate demand. They were not asking for more salaries. They were not asking for time to work. They brought an institutional problem, the problem of sending French teachers to go and teach in Anglophone schools. Not because they lacked Anglophone teachers, no, because they were deliberately sent to teach somewhere else. That was an institutional problem. The lawyers came there with one book. They called it the, what do you call it? Ohada book. That was not translated. They said they had translated it. The question you have to ask is that was an institutional issue. If Cameroon, that belongs to the group of the Ohada, had let it known at the headquarters of Ohada that it was a bilingual country, that Ohada document would have come out in French and English. They did not, because they don't want anybody to know that they have this issue of Anglophones in their country. And so when the lawyers protested, they went back to their Ministry of Justice to translate that document. The translation from the Ministry of Justice is not an official translation of Ohada text. The genuine and the legitimate translation should come from the headquarters of Ohada. And so they coined this problem as a corporatist problem. They refused to see that what the lawyers were saying was not just the Ohada book, it was something institutional. What the teacher was saying was not asking for more money for teachers. It was not a corporate problem.
Oh,
It was an institutional issue. And so if we put all this together and see where we are and see what they are saying today, I can only say congratulations to all Ambazonians who have resisted, who have contributed. And according to our president, only a few winning people will win the war. It's not the crowd. And so thank everybody who has contributed materially, intellectually, and
yeah, thank
otherwise.
you very much, Mr. Mbeseha. We're going to get into that. Thank you for what you have given. I think I allowed us to have given these elaborate introductions because I will permit us more to be very brief as we process the things that happen on the ground. We do not have that luxury of time this evening to give extensive exposés. But what you would have said already has laid a solid foundation for tonight's conversation. The government declared a stop of the lockdown. We had that discussion on Saturday, and you, Barrister Mbeseha, mentioned some things from a strategic perspective. We discussed them in snippets. Commander Willy will be talking more about that. Apparently, the lockdown officially on paper ended, but did not really end on the ground. There's been serious activities taking place. And one of such activities has been a bomb blast in Quen, an an IED exploded in Quen, and a civilian life has been lost. That is not the behavior we know of the ASA, but we can't take any responsibility or make audacious statements in that regard. But before we even get to analyze what happened and how it happened, Onye Okpala has been observing the unrest all across Ambazonia, and she has a report to give to us very quickly. Can you hear me, Onye?
Yes, very well, Mr. Tarr.
Please
And
talk to
it's
us.
been a great night. Yes, please. It's been a great night tonight listening to Barrister Fru and Barrister Mbeseha speak. Meanwhile, the week has not been great because, I mean, we've had so many insecurities. Now, the Ambazonia region remains plagued by escalating violence and insecurity, contradicting official claims of restored peace. Daily IED explosions threaten civilians and, security forces as well. The nationwide lockdown was to restrict movement and accessibility and keep the people safe, right? But so far, gunfire exchanges has fueled fear and uncertainty. This has disrupted education and, leaves students very vulnerable. The conflict, the Ambazonian conflict, has resulted in significant loss of lives, displacement, and human rights abuses as well. Residents urge the international community and the UNGA community to intervene and support a peaceful resolution. Although we know that diplomatic efforts have been insufficient, concrete actions are required to address the conflict. Ambazonia's complex issues demand a nuanced approach, addressing historical grievances, ethnic tensions, and development needs. Now, if you've been following Undaunted, we reported on Thursday about the IED explosive planted around the Nkwe market. This particular report has been surrounded by severe controversies. We here on Undaunted got some detail concerning this particular report, where a petty trader called Sean Juliet from Mbo but residents in Bamenda, chief town of the Midland Zone of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, died on Thursday, September 19, 2024, following the explosion around the Nkwe market. Now, this explosion has been around the Nkwe market and it's been a very terrible one so far. But like we reported on Thursday, this particular incident claimed not just one life, but the lives of 6 people. Jesus. Now, the IED explosive planted around the Nkwe market has brought so many controversies. On Thursday, we reported that this particular incident claimed one life and injured so many people, but we were trying to seek for the right details. Now, following an explosion around the Nkwe market, so many community members are trying to wonder who are those responsible. IED planted by a yet-to-be-identified group at the market was allegedly targeting women selling there. Now, the explosive was remote controlled from a distance.
Yeah, Onye, I think we've lost your sound. We're going to bring you back to ensure that we could get your sound. We've actually lost your sound. Can you hear me, Barrister Fru?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, so we've lost Onye's sound there. So while we try to get back her sound, you've heard a portion of the report that she has been bringing up there. According to that report, it shows that there was an IED. We know that schools could barely resume even if parents wanted their children to go to school. So much has been happening, and this was predicted, or should I say anticipated, by Barrister Mbeseha last week. Commander Willy, and that's where I want you to come in, please. What do you have to tell us about that?
Yes, Comrade Paddy, Director Paddy, I wish to bring to your attention, in a time of war, you're not going to see pictures, people feasting and dancing and drinking and anything. In a time of war, people will be dying for one reason or the other. at this type of wartime in Ambazonia and this type of situation, we should not be contemplating or speculating. At any time when you're in your house and then there's a breakage in your house, automatically there's an intruder. When an intruder is in your house, you have all those type of challenges. If you have a small room or a big room, you have your addresses inside, and then you come, things are flipped upside down. It means that there's an intruder, and who's the intruder? La Republic of Cameroon. They have come to our land. They are killing us in many, many ways that they can do. When it comes to IED like this on the ground, the best thing is to send a fact-finding mission to go find out who is doing what. You can say, is this or is that? At water, you do not point fingers because the bullet have no color. When the bullet comes, it comes to kill. And I hear you talking about school. I would like to bring something to your attention. At this time of war in Ambazonia, our independence does not depend on school. Whether people go to school or they stay at home, that does not bring us our independence. We are fighting to survive, to be alive. That is what we are fighting for, to be alive, because they are killing us. They are not killing us because we are going to school. They are killing us because they have come to colonize us and we don't want them to bag us up. That's why they are killing us. So when you people say school should start, school should not go, they are not going, they are not. School is not the priority at this moment. The priority is to keep our people alive and their property. You have to be alive to do anything in this world. For some of us who have gone to school, we are educated. President Sako is a doctor, for God's sake. Why don't you give him the chance to manage his country, Ambazonia? You want to educate the other ones who are not educated, and then you give them what chance? Barrister Fru John Nsoh is here. He's a barrister, for God's sake. Barrister Mbeseha is a barrister. You yourself, you have degrees. Why can Cameroon government not give you? You already have the education. What have they given to you? They should leave us alone so we can manage ourselves. We're going to school those who want to go to school, and in any way or any other means. Let me tell you something. When it comes to this year school, people say school. In, I think, 1955 or 19 what they call the French Accord that was signed in Brazzaville. Ambazonia was not part of that French Accord that they come to educate people on school. Number two, all the teachers in Ambazonia, they are there illegally. They are operating illegally. If you're a teacher in Ambazonia, you are operating illegally because you're not supposed to be there. You're under French government payroll. French government recruited you, trained you, and is paying you. You see, so Ambazonia government have nothing to do with you, whether you're a teacher or not. Ambazonia government is fighting to keep the people alive. President Sako say he's fighting for his people to be alive first. You have to be alive to talk to your president. You have to be alive to talk to your sister. You have to be alive to talk to your whoever. So when people are talking about schools should go on, schools should not go on, the problem here is for us to be alive. They are killing us, not because we went to school. Those who went to school, they went and killed them. Those who stay home, they came and catch them and still take them to jail. What do you want us to do? We have to fight. That's the only thing we have in our hand to fight. In Boya, they are doing Kale, they are killing people. Those people who have been killed in Boya and who have been caught for Kale, they were supposed to go to school, right? But they have caught them. So we are talking of what here? We are at war. You are talking of this. We expect disorder on the ground because we are taking back our country. We are taking it. That's all.
That's a great one there. I remember that brings something to my attention. In one of a forum that I am involved with, someone was blackmailing, because that's what proxies and enablers in Cameroon do all the time, blackmailing the people of Southern Cameroons in their effort to defend their sovereignty and integrity and dignity. So they always make us to feel like, oh, you're killing your own people, you're doing this. And I told that person, I'm not a medical practitioner, but common sense tells us that when a foreign body enters your body and it is operated out, even now in the modern world where anesthesia reduces the pain, there's puncturing of the tissue, there is an oozing of blood, and some tissues will have to be destroyed to fix the tissue and the entire organism. So this is a normal process that goes through when you're trying to destroy a hegemony. Barrister Fru, please try to be brief.
Yes, Paddy, I want to remark that explosion took place in the city of my birth and yours. And we know exactly where Nkwen is and which part of Nkwen was affected. Yeah. And I want to say that it took place after the lockdown.
Yeah.
And I would go on to say it was a reaction from the successful lockdown by the enemy. Let me explain. Look, that IED the IED, what we generally call popcorn, does not sound like the explosions that took place in Queen. Those explosions were planted there by La République du Cameroon from their arsenal in Bamenda Station. And they planted it so that it can kill people in the market, because people were now free to do their business, go to the market and do their things. So La République got so curious that we succeeded. So they decided to kill our people. They went to Quen and planted that the type of, because it exploded about, there were a series of explosions, about 6 to 7. Pam, 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 pam. That is not how our popcorn functions. Our popcorn, what you call the EID, of a weapon of choice for the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, is a one-time blow. Bam! It was not our ASA that planted it. It was the enemy that planted it in response to the successful lockdown. And they wanted to make they wanted to give us a message that they cannot tolerate the success of that lockdown. And they did it in the market so that people should die, and they blame it on us. And that's what they are doing. And that's, if you hear the various people talking about it, it's like they are looking at it happening there because of the war. It was after the fact. It was after the fact of the lockdown that explosion took place.
If I'm agreeing with you, it is a strategy from the enemy to paint a bad image, which is something we understand they have done often.
Correct.
And like the Undaunted, unfortunately, we missed Onye. I wish we had her complete that report. Don't have time to bring her back for that. But like Undaunted reported, Cameroon does that all the time, just so that they will say that we are killing our own people.
Our own people.
What do you have to say about that?
Well, I don't know, but citizens sometimes are complex. This is my take about it. What happened at the Queen Market? Whoever planted the bomb, whatever thing you call it, or explosive, it only goes to vindicate our viewpoint that there's generalized insecurity in Ambazonia. You will not get to this conclusion until you look at the thing. What was happening in Quen? Quen is far away from Boya. Tie it together with what was happening in Boya the same few days. Arresting people in Bonakanda, arresting people left and right, shooting everywhere. It is only a vindication of the fact that there is no security on the ground. Who is the cause of this insecurity? I don't want to go into who planted it. I saw the communique from the prefect of Bamenda, of Mezam. He did not even as much as venture to say that Amba boys did it. According to him, whoever did it was unidentified gunmen. That is his official version of the story. They didn't say Ambazonians did it. They simply said unidentified gunmen. The person who came out to say, oh, it is Ambazonian who did this, me for. I don't know him. I don't know how you have indicated her so much times. The government, our opponent, in their official communique did not accuse Ambazonia. But again, let me remind ourselves that the lockdown, what we call the lockdown, was not a ceasefire. It was never a ceasefire. It was an aspect of the struggle. While the lockdown was on, the war was going on. It was not a ceasefire. I think I've had the opportunity to stay here and say that, look, the war has come from guerrilla war to urban guerrilla warfare. What's happening in the center of Bamenda, when it's in the middle of town? What is happening in Boya, in Moya, is the middle of town. What Okala Bilal said and other actors, they live in town. is to show that the thing is totally out of their own control. We have now transitioned from guerrilla warfare in the jungles to urban guerrilla warfare. Whoever did it, I take credit for it because it shows that there's generalized insecurity. And as Willy said there, is that the environment you want your child to go to school? Is that the environment you want to go and sit in the market and sell your cocoyam and sell your plantains? It is not. It is not. There's nothing normal there. Could the governor of Bamenda, Lele Afrik, send his wife to cross Nkwen to go buy something for him around the Nkwen market in that climate? He would not do it. He would not even send his own child. And so it is a vindication of our position that there's generalized insecurity on the ground, which according to me and a few others, the struggle has transitioned from guerrilla warfare, what they call the amber terrorism in bushes, to urban guerrilla warfare. The urban guerrilla is unidentifiable because you don't know who that person is. And I said it sometime this week, I don't know any country in the world that has been able to defeat an urban guerrilla warfare. When the warfare transitioned into urban centers and began an urban guerrilla warfare, the challenger, in this case the Republic of Cameroon, must go down and negotiate it out. Because according to Okala Bilai, they don't know what to do again. Things are above them. They have lost all what they could do militarily. So whoever put that thing there, kudos to us for promoting, or if the Republic did it, they helped us to promote our view that there's generalized insecurity on the ground. That's just the bottom line. And with this, again I said, we have in Yaoundé there, we talk of international community. The international community is completely represented in Yaoundé. You have the American ambassador there. We have the French embassy there. We have the UK. We have the Russians. We have all these things right inside Yaoundé. These things where government is responding with their own communiques. Are these ambassadors not aware of them? They are aware of them. Can they do something to help us? Of course. They are now at the United Nations. I said this sometime this week. I don't know where everybody. Now, these members and other countries are the United Nations General Assembly. They see this thing. We don't even know what Philomonia would say. But even if Philomonia was to stand there and say, well, everything is going back to normal, would they believe him? These countries have the power to cause it to come on the agenda of the General Assembly. These very countries, who are all in Yaoundé, China, France, Russia, UK, and the United States, these are the 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. They have the power, they're all in Yaoundé. They have the power to bring this thing to the Security Council. And so it vindicates our position.
Yeah, well, I don't want us to diversify the argument. I just wanted us to examine what is happening on the ground and be as brief as possible. I think there is another school of thought that agrees with you, Barrister Mbeseha, that whatever happens right now only underlines the fact and the caution that the government is giving to the people that it is unsafe to go to school. Ambazonia is at war, and that's what Cameroon is trying to deny. So, but there's a technical aspect that Barrister Fru brought in. The fact that Cameroon would use their proxies to inflict pain on the civilian population so that we as a government or as a people are being sabotaged. That's an aspect we cannot forget to highlight as we're talking. Barrister Fru, apparently you want to react. Please make that reaction.
Yes, let me react. Let me react. I with that thing happened in Bamenda, where that is my town. I had to be, anything that happens in Bamenda, I try to find out. I made a series of contacts around Kwen, and they were able to tell me that if every finger is pointed at La République du Cameroon soldiers at off station, that they planted a series of small bombs the night before the market. And the soldiers go around that particular area the night before the market. And I'm saying that La République du Cameroon, I don't disagree with what Barrister Mbeseha is saying. it shows the insecurity that we're living. But we must point the finger to the end to whoever did it. The Republic of Cameroon is our enemy. The Ambazonia State Army will not take away 6 lives after the lockdown. And secondly, the explosions are not the type of explosions that the Ambazonia State Army uses.
Agreed.
A series of 6 to 7 explosions.
Undaunted actually reported that from their reports, they have never seen the state army targeting civilians in that manner, not even in any manner. And
yes,
what they did, similar to what the vigilante, which is a proxy of Cameroon as well, the vigilante of Galajilo did in during 11 February. Now, Commander Willy, before we graduate with that, talk to us and link that to the lockdown with the plan you have on the ground, because you are in the field, you are the one who understands this very well, and you need to really talk to us in depth in that regard, please.
Yes, House. Let me reiterate myself back. Now, when it comes to this explosion on the ground and what Cameroon government is doing on the ground, the first thing is to get the fact-finding mission to go find out who is doing what on the ground. And number 2, moving forward, based on the lockdown that happened on the ground, Cameroon government have lost a lot. The purpose of the lockdown was to send a message to the United Nations, and not only that, and to show the readiness of Ambazonia State Army. A lockdown like this in Ambazonia is to show our muscles, to show that we are ready, we are governing ourselves, and as such, we've been governing ourselves under the leadership of Dr. President Samuel Sako Ikome. For this lockdown in Ambazonia, every day that La Republique observe this lockdown that we do in Ambazonia, we keep the army all all on one spot. The army cannot move. The gendarmes and police, they cannot move. They cannot take money stored money from our people on the road. And as such, even the doorways, remember this, Cameroon Army, they receive, I have the data over here, they receive money on the doorway, about 45 million CFA every 2 days on that toll gate. 45 million CFA every 2 days. Tico Douala tollway and as well as Matazem tollway. So they receive all this money, and when you do the maths, you come to find out that Cameroon government have lost 1.5 million US dollars. 1.5 million US dollars. That is 900 million that they have lost just for those two tollways only for this 1 week to 9 days that the Ambazonia government have called a lockdown on the road. Moving forward, it has shown that Ambazonia State Army were ready to move, and as such, some changes that will go on the ground, they have been already put in place. Number 1, we have divided Cameroon into 2. So all the buses that have gone to La Republique, they should just stay there. They will not come back into Ambazonia. How are we going to maintain and manage that separation that we've separated with La Republique already? Those buses will not come back. So for this reason, effective the 20th of next month, October, all the buses and the parks, what we call the formerly called park in Ambazonia, most of those parks will be relocated to the various areas. Number 1, the park in Bamenda, it will be relocated to Matazem. That's the park for Bamenda. It will move for Matazem. Matazem is a border town between Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia, and La Republique. So that any motor will go for inside Bamenda Park, it will go bona. All motor will go for Matazem. Now for they go the load. There are people there for Matazem. They can't go for Douala. When you come back, you go stop for Matazem. You offload the people them. We are clando them and taxi them. They go pick people and bring inside Ambazonia. And again, as well as for Mundoni, for inside Fako, the park will be for Mundoni. For Mundoni, you go more Douala. You go stop your passenger there for Mundoni park. You go leave them for day. We are clando them and we are taxi people them. They go carry the people and bring them for Tico and other places them. So bus is not going to run in Ambazonia again. No bus. Even 12-seater bus not going to run. The reason I say we already move Cameroon government out of our land, we not bring them again. Because remember this, soldiers that they move in groups more than 6 when they transport them. So when they come with buses them, they wear civilian clothes enter for buses them. So they bring them in too much for buses them. where there's guy like civilian enter inside our country. And then again for Lebialem and Chang, that border for that border time between Lebialem and Chang, pack will be for the again what we call Ambazonia Transit Authorization Pack, or we call it exchange centers. So that if you come up for Chang, you want to enter Ambazonia, you enter bus for Chang or Bafusam, you go enter that bus for Lebialem boundary, you go that bus will stop for that area. You go take that taxi Oakland over enter Ambazonia. Any bus to see I go burn from any bus, because the bus they transport Cameroon military officials them. We don't know this we be saying 70-seater bus no come. But 12-seater they transport all this, they army them. Now they is on the camp for where land in their large numbers. And again, for Ndonga too, count where they share boundary with Fumban. A bus stop will be for the again. Ambazonia Transit Authorization Center, or you call it Exchange Center. Ambazonia Exchange Center will be to Cameroon, and as such, we'll go for shoulder demarcation. All Ambazonia State Army them, they send the motor, we will enter any bus, we will come inside Ambazonia again from the 20th, they go shoot them, independent of who they inside the bus. This reason will be two different Cameroon, Southern Cameroon, and British Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia, and La Republic. So that demarcation will be kept. As we know, during this lockdown, when President Sako called for this lockdown, those who were true born and bona fide Ambazonia, they stay in Ambazonia to fight in Ambazonia. Those who were not Ambazonia, they went back to their country. And their country is where? La Republic of Cameroon. Them going back to their country show that they do not belong to our country. They come to extort us. They come to act as spy. They come to show us. They come to extort from us. So for that reason, they will stay in their country. If you are coming to Ambazonia, whether you are a diplomat, starting the 20th of next month, you are coming, if you come with a bus, you'll be shot. You want to come, you can enter a clando, a taxi. No bus will be found in Ambazonia anymore from the 20th.
Commander Willy.
Over the ground, so we're going to maintain it.
Commander Willy, we're going to come to that. You said something which I want us to. We're going to be bringing some reports on the ground again. But before we bring that, because you're going to use that to conclude this segment, as probably we may be concluding the program. But before we do that, you have said something. You said under the leadership of President Sako, we understand that for about 2 years right now, the draft has been re-strategized. The re-strategization of the draft or award has brought maybe controversies even within government, probably because of people's understanding. We know of the federal draft. We also the fruits of the federal draft and some of the things that the federal draft was able to do to the people of Ambazonia. I'm coming to you, Barrister Mbeseha, before we get to Barrister Fru with this. So we saw what federal draft was doing, and we have seen what is happening now with some counties. So there are those who are rumors is going around, and those arguing that federal draft really didn't do anything. It is now that the counties have drafted that we are seeing reports on the ground. I'm bringing this conversation because it's quite important, especially now that the president is calling for the federal draft redemption. We have been here every weekend analyzing what is happening on the ground when it is happening. And so nobody can tell us that. So you may want to make a contribution in that regard, Barrister Mbeseha, Barrister Fru, and Commander Willy, so that I can help to educate those who might be misinformed or disinformed with that rhetoric. I don't know where it's coming from, but if such information is coming, there are chances that it could be coming from externally or internally. What would you say, Barrister Mbeseha, from this backdrop that I've just given? What would you say is the middle point what the federal draft actually did, and why is tonight superlatively imperative? Barrister Mbeseha, please talk to us.
Well, I will not address it in a narrow perspective. When you see people come out with those proposals, it suggests that they don't understand. There are many things they don't understand. If anybody understands what is going on, federal draft, county draft, They will not even say that because this federal draft has been more successful than any other draft we have done before. It has been more effective than any other draft that we have done before. And so the person who says like that is just not, he or she probably does not understand. I know there are some people with very bad intentions, but they probably don't understand. And so one of the ways they can understand these things, because I'm not sure that those who are watching us now, what we've taken pains to explain today, we took pains to explain other things last week and weeks before. This is so educational. If you are not tuning in to get this information from the horse's own mouth, you'll be misled. And I think UN has taken a lot of time saying something that do not let your enemy define you for yourself. It is not the critics who will define for us what we will do with the federal draft or what we will not do. The federal draft has been very successful. Again, those who don't understand, find out. There's so much going on, for example, on ABC. A lot is going on there. So many programs, essentially educational. 21. Don't just be a person who comes once in a while to watch one program, they go to criticize unknowingly. No. Again, they don't know what they're talking about. If they knew it, they will realize that since we launched the federal draft, which is even so big, $1,000, we've not done that before. People are paid, they are redeeming their draft because they have seen the effect of it. Again, as President Sako says, only the select few will fight the battle to the end. But there will always be critics. To our critics, try to learn. If you don't have an answer, instead of just putting rumors out there, call one of us. If you call me and I don't have the answer, I know where to get the answer for you. If you call Paddy and he doesn't have the answer, he probably will know where to get the answer for you. That would be better than just sitting there. And again, for homework, for those who are watching us, this ABC is not Paddy's property. We might make mistakes here. I might make a mistake. It's not my property. It's not Mr. Fru's property. It's the property of Ambazonia. Well funded and well organized as Ambazonian TV. And so don't compare us because you don't understand what you have heard from ABS or Crisano, or what you have heard from SCBC. Those are private people. Tell them me before I mention. You can do what they like.
By Mbeseha, we're going to get on that aspect. We're going to get on that aspect of ABC when we're talking about ABC. We'll come to Barrister Fru right now. Barrister Fru, just a few weeks ago, before we even started county tour and the county draft, we're analyzing, giving an appraisal of the work that, in absence of county draft, the federal draft would have done on the ground. And I felt that it's kind of ridiculous for anyone to want to suggest that the federal draft has not really done what is supposed to have been done. We're going to look again as we ask stakeholders to redeem whatever they would have pledged to do. We're going to try to resurrect the rationale that the government had when they instituted the federal government draft. But what would you think with that narrative, Barrister Fru?
I would say that this whole narrative now is coming from outside this government. It's coming from the enemy and its proxies, and also blacklegs, because this is the second year that we are finishing federal draft. We had federal draft last year and this year. And you saw, Paddy, you remember that we analyzed and saw the various actions that were taking place on the ground. And before the federal draft came, the action on the ground was not left much to be desired. As soon as it came, the fire power picked up. And we analyzed that on this program. And for somebody to come at the end of the draft and start vomiting this kind of nonsense, well, We should not take that seriously. We know that government policies are criticized by the people. We will take that criticism, but let me make this declaration. The lockdown has changed the face of the fight. The generals on the ground are the ones managing the fight on the ground, and we can see the progress. The progress is noticeable. At one time, I thought Paco was completely out of the mix. But hey, Paddy, you may want to know that Paco came back into the fight thanks to the federal draft. There are things that the federal government is doing that security-wise, we cannot talk about them. But at the same time, we see them, we know what is happening, the firepower is on, and we will continue to put it up. I am not saying that the counties are not doing their best, but if you look at the volume of the draft, for the federal draft and the counties, the federal draft has more money now than the counties. I have looked at it. I looked at the drafting in the counties. It was not as heavy as it used to be, but they are now using the small money that they have well. Unlike at first when they had big money and they couldn't do. Look at I take my county Mbeseha. The security situation Mbeseha has changed since the federal draft came on. Since the federal draft came on. I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to say, Paddy, let me finish. What I'm trying to say is that the federal draft has changed the course of the fight and has brought in efficiency and targeted firepower on the ground. And the counties are now following up with what they have to supplement what the federal draft has done. And anybody who criticizes that is, well, if it is inside the government, you are allowed to. If it is outside in the population, you are allowed to, because we are trying to build a democracy. But I want to argue that the enemy has seen the success of the drafting system that we have put in place, and they are doing everything to discredit it. That's what I'm saying.
Actually, this argument is unfortunately coming from quarters that you may anticipate or not anticipate, and the insinuation, you know, when the coup plotters wanted to go, their strategy was to accuse the president and the federal government of embezzlement. Coopers did the same thing. Coopers did the same thing, and that same accusation is going around, partly for sabotage. So in a partisan world, what happens in politics, and that's why politics is a very dangerous thing, is that when you want to either plot a coup or do something or bring your party in the limelight, what you easily do is to create a problem and probably lie about the other person, or maybe look at the problem that is existing. So whatever is happening, there is nobody in this platform that is well suited to talk on this issue. Commander Willy, you're a commander on the ground. You're a county chair of Manu. To the best of my knowledge, Manu is one of those counties that would have benefited from the federal draft to execute some of the things they have to do on the ground. But this is apparently not being acknowledged by certain groups of people, Ambazonians, and statements or utterances and insinuations are made. Talk to us. What would you say the federal government draft or federal government would have done to help Manu achieve the things that they would have achieved? I wish, and whatever information you think you know the federal government would have done for the ANSC, for counties that you are aware of, and as a commander that you are willing to acknowledge, we need to educate our people on this. Maybe if the federal government didn't do anything for Manu, you can also say it here, so that Ambazonians will ask federal government what they have been doing with what they are collecting. Talk to us, please.
Yes, Director Paddy. Fellow Ambazonians, I don't know if I should speak in Pidgin or in English. That way people can understand better. Let me say it in English a little bit, then I go to Pidgin. When it comes to the federal draft initiated by Dr. Samuel Sakwe-Kome, the federal draft is a way for us to put our resources together, financial resources, to manage the situation at home, to prevent that our people should not be killed in their numbers, or should not be killed. That's the main ideology of the federal draft, to keep life, to save and preserve life. That's the whole idea. And then secondly, President Sako put us into counties and local government area. And he tell us, go to your county and draft, go to your LG and draft. That means that he wants us to be under a global network controlled and managed by the federal government. So if you're under your local government area, you draft and they ask you, where did you draft? You say, oh, I draft from Manu. Now, Manu county coordinator, me like a Manu county coordinator, can make that research and see that, yeah, you drafted. We have the receipts, everything. And then we can say, okay, this person drafted here. But if you are not in any county or any local government area, and then you begin to talk of federal draft, where did you draft? You see, some people don't draft and they are not in either their local government area or their county. So then somebody might call them from Portugal or Norway, hey, send me money. They say, oh, I drafted. Under which county? Now, speaking as Manu County Coordinator, Manu have benefited from the federal draft. Remember this, the federal government does not give money to a group of people. That is the thing. The federal government does not give money to a group of people. So if you say, oh, send me money here, every me will say, send me money, they will not give it to me. They can give it to my department, they can give it to my county, because my county have a 501c. That's 501c. The money is supposed to be documented. Who is receiving it? Which county is receiving the money, or which LG is receiving the money? How is the money supposed to be used? How is it supposed to be spent? When it's spent, is the report brought back to the federal government to report how the money was used, the result? You see, so Vice President Eric and President Dr. Samuel Sakwe-Kome, they brought that procedure into place, so that when they give money to, they're not going to give it to you, but if you ask for money, they will not give it to you. But if ABC asks, they can give it to ABC, because it's what? Under a 501c, whereby they can trace that money, and that money can be documented what you've used the money for. Before, where people would just come and tell you, oh, give me 5,000, give me 1,000, they give, like a scam. So the federal government became wise and said, no, money should be given to people who have 501c and that have a county coordinator, an LGA, and a defense team. So that
and they have projects to execute.
Yes, and they have projects to execute. And then they have to bring the report. And bring the report, videos, pictures, audios, and whatever they have to do to present it to the president and to the committee that gives them that money. That fund.
Now, so I wanted to focus on this, Commander Willy. I'm not cutting you short. I'd like you to focus on this. Has the federal government funded any project on the ground that has been actualized by Manu County?
Of course. Of course, yes. Of course. Many projects in Manu. Not only one, not only two. Without the federal government, we will be able to carry projects but will not be successful as, you know, when your father gives you a helping hand, it's a different thing. But you can get 5,000, the federal government you have 5,000, that's 10,000. Instead of 5 units, you can have 10 units on the field. And the result will be much more huge. You see? The difference between I will use Manu and other counties, other LGA, is because once the federal government give us that money, we use it, our chief security and our defense team will come and present that result to the federal government to see. Not on social media. Not on social media. When you see on social media, it's different. The result they give to the president and the vice, so they can see where the money went to. The result, it will brief them on what happened, so they know. Some people, they will give you money from your account or your LG, you take it, you go sit down, they ask you, what happened? You don't come back again. Then tomorrow again, it's like you send a child to school, their child does not bring a report card. How will you give the money again? So that's why they will begin to complain that, oh, you are this, you are this, you are not this. Secondly, some people fail to sign. They don't want to sign them. They don't want to sign on the paper how much they're going to receive, because they don't want to be accountable. Because the government does not give money to individuals. They have their route where how they send the money. I don't touch money. I've never touched federal government money. But the money have come to Manu County under my supervision. See the difference? Because we have a treasury department, we have a 501c. So I will not say what is behind the deal, but the transaction will come through, and the people in charge of security for Manu County will take it and carry out the operation for all of us. Last but not the least, all the money people draft and send to Manu, let me tell you the truth, it's not used only in Manu. It's not. That money is used in other countries as well. We have to go behind and make other countries to shake, because if Manu is free, not all Ambazonia is free. Other countries too will still pit in here and give the commanders to do what they're supposed
So
to do.
you're acknowledging that Manu County has been able to do inter-county collaboration on the ground
Correct.
to help.
Correct.
Of course, you see that, you see that most of these fighters fight in other areas. Where do they get training? We train them, we go there, we get training, we inter-train within the counties. I don't want to say it on TV, but inter-train within the counties. You see,
Correct.
before they used to say fighters should move from one point to the next, but now we know what to do to train them. I spend time on Zoom to train them. Every time I spend audio, the audio I sent you is different. You think the audio I sent you, the audio I sent to fighters? Fighter audio is different. This audio is for public consumption. The one for fighter is different. We train them. Some of them never know how to shoot a gun. We have to train how to shoot a gun. We have to train how to march. We have to train how to do certain things. I cannot say it on TV over here. But when the money comes, we'll tell them they have drafted for Manu, but we are giving you this one. When Manu give you 1,000 or 500, we say the federal government have said we should give it to you if you're Indian. It's the money for the government. When you give to Manu, it does not mean that
I'm happy that
what I'm going to do.
Commander Willy, I'm very happy that you would have made this statement. Before this program, I had the opportunity to call certain commanders, because I talk with a lot of commanders on the ground, and even people on the ground, to sample different opinions. My intention is always to correlate with what is coming from the diasporic community, especially politicians within government. Especially when somebody says Ground Zero is doing this, sometimes I laugh, because I hear some of the things and I just laugh, and I know who in the diaspora would have told you to say that. Because if there's one person in the struggle currently that has sufficient information, I think I have more information than at least 90% of everybody in government from the ground. So when you are telling me something, the only person that is more than me now that I know of in communication is Kemi Ashu. So when you are telling me anything Ground Zero says, I just look at you sometimes, I'm laughing, because I lost my number a few weeks ago. Even my wife was unable to sleep, because those who couldn't get to me on phone had to go on Facebook. They couldn't search, and they started writing her email, and I had to get a number within 24 hours. So I am able to consult on the ground to get sufficient information. I call Commander Elvis and some commanders to verify certain information, especially what's happening in Bui and other counties. And what I would say to some who have grievances, that you may want to ask your county officials if they have created enabling environment for the federal government to effect action. If they have not done so, then that is the first step before they question what the federal government is doing. Because counties that do not have presidents, but they have leadership in the counties, have enabling environment that helps the president to function and the government or the federal government to function, and there is no animosity or ambiguity within government. So we will move forward. I want to be sure if Undaunted has a good sound now. Please, can you talk to me? Is your sound okay right now, so that we can conclude this segment of the program? Can you hear me, please? So you may have some. Can you hear me? That's smart. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Do you want to tell us what is happening in Gokitunja, please? Do you want to tell us what's happening with the report in Dok, so that we can move on?
Well, Ambazonia generally, since the war in Ambazonia erupted in 2016, the nation of Ambazonia has been gripped by a growing pattern of violence and human rights abuses, perpetrated largely by the colonial forces from La Republique du Cameroon. The conflict, rooted in historical injustices and the quest for self-determination by the peoples of Ambazonia, has escalated into a brutal clash between colonial military and Ambazonian forces since 2017. The Ambazonian struggle for liberation has been met with heavy-handed responses from the La Republic government, with numerous reports of extrajudicial killings, arbitrary arrests, torture, and the targeting of innocent civilians. Civilians whom colonial forces would later tag to be supporting the Ambazonian cause. Nowhere in the world is it illegal to strive for self-determination, especially of a country who once had their independence and sovereignty. Well, amid the chaos, the civilian populations bears the brunt of this violence, often caught in the crossfire between the two warring sides. Well, in this report, we hope to highlight the increasing excesses of the colonial forces, which have only intensified in recent years. One such tragic case is the gruesome killing of a certain Hubert, a popular welder in Bamali village, which is a stark reminder and a stark example of the indiscriminate violence by the colonial forces that has become all too common in the region. Well, on Wednesday, September 18, 2024, the village of Bamali was plunged into sorrow and fear following the brutal killing of Hubert, a respected local welder. Hubert's only crime, it appears, was being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Earlier that day, boys suspected to be part of the Ambazonian State Army had asked Hubert for a ride on his motorcycle, innocently obliging Hubert to drop them off at their destination, unaware that this act would soon seal his fate. Later that day, colonial forces from the La Republic government, likely tipped off or tracking the activities of the fighters, descended on Hubert. According to eyewitness reports from Bamali, Hubert was arrested by the colonial soldiers, tortured, and dragged onto the highway by their military truck. His lifeless body was later discarded at Three Corners, Bamali, a gruesome spectacle that has sent shockwaves through the entire community. Despite the trauma and danger, Hubert's family managed to retrieve his body for burial the following day, which was on Thursday, September 19th, 2024. Eyewitnesses and close associates have attested that Hubert, like other executed Ambazonians, had no known affiliations with the Ambazonian fighters or any active involvement in the conflict. He was a civilian, an artisan who made a living through honest work. Yet, in the increasingly tense and paranoid atmosphere of a war-torn region, even an act as simple as offering a ride to someone can be viewed as collaboration with the Ambazonian forces, resulting in deadly consequences. Well, on the other hand, we're wondering where the execution of civilians is the answer to any purported crime that civilians carry out. When the military in any part of the world execute on sight an unarmed civilian who hasn't even been charged with anything, these acts of impunity are only emblematic of a broader pattern of human rights violations by the colonial forces in Ambazonia. It only reflects the extent to which colonial forces will go to stifle any perceived support for the genuine cause of Ambazonia, a just cause, even if it means this colonial forces punishing innocent civilians and carrying out these executions. Hubert's case is just one of many that speak to the indiscriminate brutality employed by the colonial La Republic forces, whose actions further alienate the local population and fuel resentment against the colonial government and their forces, these forces that the colonial government represents. Well, the war in Ambazonia is far from a mere territorial dispute. It is a deeply rooted conflict with human life caught in the wake of it. The ongoing violence, particularly the excesses committed by the colonial forces of La Republic, is exacerbating the suffering of civilians like Hubert. As more cases of extrajudicial killings and human rights abuses come to light, we await a time when the international community will take a stand. Accountability for these violations is crucial if there is to be any hope for peace and justice in the nation of Ambazonia. Only with greater awareness and international pressure can this cycle of violence be broken and the people of Ambazonia afforded the justice and freedom they have long sought. Mr. Paddy, you see yet another case of extrajudicial killings, executions by the colonial forces. It is at this juncture we'll hand the baton over to you to deliberate on the matter.
Yeah, that's thank you very much, Star, for doing that report the way you just did right now. This is a situation that might be leading us towards a conclusion of this phase of our program. It has happened a couple of times where Cameroon, out of suspicion, will take a talent and will they are suspecting that welders are helping the state army to create their weapons on the ground. So this is an innocent man with a family that was dragged to death. This is a crime against humanity that we can see in broad daylight. And I'm surprised that the proxy media is not reporting it the way they should. It's an unfortunate situation, Barrister Fru. Please talk to us briefly.
Yes, like you rightly said, Paddy, it's a crime against humanity. This is a young man who was making his living. He's not interested in the fight. He's not a soldier. He's nothing. And La Republic forces will go and drag him and go and kill him. Kill him in broad daylight and in cold blood. We will have to look for those pictures to enter the Ambazonian Genocide Library so that we can do some reporting at the ICC. Even though the ICC is dragging its feet on proceeding with the investigations and the prosecution of that case, we still have a duty to keep informing them of the extrajudicial killings operated by La Republic of Cameroon forces of disorder that come into our territory and kill our people at random. The case of the bombing in Quen and this case of this young man who has just lost his life, a young man who was trying to make ends meet. He was not interested. He was not fighting. He was not a soldier. He was just a civilian going about his business. If you suspect him, well, pick him up, take him to court, give him to the judicial people, and then they will find out if he's involved in anything. You have no right to kill somebody without judgment. That's extrajudicial killing, and at war times it is a war crime. Yeah. That's all I have to say about that issue.
Okay. Yeah, I think Mbeseha, let me hear from you.
Well, I think Mr. Nsoh has said almost everything. What I will add is that, see, war has rules. Even real war is well organized. In the face of, call it an amber fighter, if you face an amber fighter alive, and the guy pulls down his gun and carry up his hands, and you shot him, even after that, that is a war crime. Because the enemy was surrendered, put down his arms and carry up his hands. Does no longer pose a danger to you. And so shooting that person just because he happens to wear the opponent's uniform is a war crime. We in the United States know that. A few American soldiers tried that in Afghanistan and other war fronts, and they were sanctioned. They went to jail. So this one, as Mr. Nsoh says, we want these things to enter the records. Those who are familiar with the case, we just need the facts as they are, because reporting requires that you give the name of the place, the date it happened, and the name of the individual, and a short paragraph on the circumstances under which it happened. The good luck we have is war crimes are imprescriptible. 10 years, 50 years after that, if you're under your dead, you will be prosecuted. It's just wrong. No soldier in the world, not to talk about Cameroon, has a mandate to shoot and kill people. But he didn't even shoot and kill him. They dragged him on their vehicle to the most painful death, not even the one of Christ who carried the cross. And so it's no longer a war. This is not the first one. I think from the history of all wars, I personally, I'm not aware of any army, any military, organized military that has behaved the way of the Republic. They are outlaws in their government, they are outlaws in their military, they are outlaws everywhere in the world. Even their French supporters will not support this.
And this brings me to you. We have just a few minutes to round this up. This brings me to you, Commander Willy. You've always said that the civilian population should understand that we are fighting a war. And many times when you have the opportunity to talk via this platform, you try to resonate the fact that every young man must know that they're an endangered species and they have to be involved. So this is a person who probably is not even involved in any way, just a person that is a natural suspect. What would you, considering you cannot say whatever has already been said, but what would be your advice to others who are at the home front and who can be victimized by the same colonial army? What would you advise them? Talk to us,
Well,
Commander.
yes, Director Paddy, fellow Ambazonians, I'll bring to your attention first these 2 points. Number one, you first know Paul Biya first. I'll start with Paul Biya. Paul Biya is a dictator. And number two, he's a bully. He has bullied all the ambassadors that have come to his office. He has bullied them. All of them. He has bullied them. He has bullied the international community. He has bullied the United Nations. He has bullied the OAU. He's the oldest serving president. He has declared war against Ambazonia. When they are coming to kill in Ambazonia, they are not coming to judge whether you are fighting or you're not fighting. He has said, go and kill Ambazonians. So if you think that they are not going to come to you or come for you, they are coming. When they see you, your name is died. They are not killing you because you commit a crime. They are killing you because you're an Ambazonian. That is why they are killing. Cabral Army is killing you because you're an Ambazonian. There is no exception. Whether you run inside, you stay in Ambazonia, or you run and go out of the country, they are still fighting you and following you and killing you. If not, they will not kill you. That man is in his own country. He never went anywhere to go look for any trouble anywhere. Whether he fight or he does not fight, they have declared the war against all of us, including you, including me. So if you say you're not going to fight or you're not going to draft, they're going to come and still kill you. Look at what happened in Boya. They are kidnapping people from the houses, kidnapping people, and they're asking for 50,000, 100,000. So if you do not draft, therefore they come and kidnap your son or your in-law or your mother or your sister. You go and pay 100,000 for them to release your son. Today, Jana will arrest them. Tomorrow, police arrest them. You see the hanky-panky. You keep on spending money. This person who was shot in Ambazonia, he was not shot because he committed any crime. He shot because he's an Ambazonian. Remember this, since they started killing us in Ambazonia, no bullet have ever touched any French citizen. I can prove that. No bullet have touched any Francophone. It means that their own bullet have eyes. They have asked them to do target killing. They are killing us. They are taking us out of this earth. We are still dreaming that, I'm not there, I think. I'm not there, I think. That man that died, he did not only die alone. He have a wife that depend on him. He have sisters, he have families, he have friends. He have us ambassadors that depend on him. So he have customers that depend on him. He's a businessman. He provides services to the public. Once you kill that person providing service, if you're supposed to have a chair, now you don't have a chair because he was want to make you a chair. Look at it that way. You have killed a businessman. It means to affect the ecosystem of humanity. You people that go to school, people know better. People should stand up and fight. Papa, mommy, they want to start when I fight. What I be mommy, what I woman. If you start doing for that thing, they catch your picking for house, they kidnap your picking, they shoot it. Now they don't shoot that man. If mommy they go look money for make grave, for make it die. They go carry vex for their heart. They don't go sleep. So this war affects everybody. When I stand, make we shoot ourselves to freedom. When I know what about international community, make we shoot ourselves to freedom. Make we shoot ourselves to freedom. We go shoot our way to freedom. Now all that. If we don't shoot, kill the people that they can't kill, we'll waste time. I wish my brother a word. My brother thought say, you go report for SDO. When the snake will bite you, it give you poison. You report for you again. No. Fight first for take the poison out and for them for kill the snake. Not mosquito bite you, go for mosquito. I get malaria. I see when I don't go for DO, go complain for DO. When I go complain for colonial people, them. What is their aim? Their aim now for kill we. Their aim now for why we all. And the last but not the least, all Ambazonian people, them, they fight war with book for hand. When I forget all international law, when I fight back for your life, you have to be alive for international law to judge you. You have to be alive first. So if you keep quiet, say, I don't want to kill them, they can't kill you. They kill you, don't lose. All the lawyers, they talk to the air talk, lawyer, they talk to the air talk. Shoot first. You ask question later. Why you don't shoot? They ask them, you ask them to the land. Yeah, you ask the barrister, Fru John Nsoh, if I not shoot you and they kill me, who say you can't judge me? When I need judge die man. Lawyers do not judge people. They judge people who are alive. Shoot first and kill Cabral Army out of your land and be free. That's all I can tell you. That's all I can tell you. Over to you, sir. That's it.
That's really amazing. Now, I want us to get into something very important. Apparently, we mistakenly cut off air, but I want us to get into something very, very important right now. Let's talk a little bit about um, the war for this 7 year and ABC and the media. Let's talk on that very briefly, and then we can move on into other issues. Please, I'll start with you, Barrister Fru.
Paddy, I think that for these 7 years, the ABC has done a marvelous job of reporting on this war. I also note that the so-called world media have underreported this war. Nobody, very few foreign correspondents have ventured to report on this war. I remember that they started saying 3,000 dead, and they stay on 3,000 dead for almost 2-3 years, and then went to 6,000. They are now at 6,000, and they are staying there. Because they do not report, they do not investigate, they are not on the ground like in other war-torn places like Gaza and Ukraine. I don't know what Africans ever did to this world. Africa is the richest continent. We supply everything to everybody, but when it comes to us, we are treated like subhumans. This war is one of the most underreported war in the world. Thank God that we have ABC that has done its best. It's done a lot for these 7 years of reporting. Even though ABC really became effective a few years back, because when ABC started, it was being used as a personal thing, and a lot of reporting was shallow. But at least they were reporting. It was shallow. But now ABC has taken over, has escalated, and is now reporting fully. Can you imagine that for how many years that we have been coming on Ambazonia this week and talking about this war?
We round up now.
So
I was trying to do some Barrister Fru, please, we need to round up now. I was trying to do some connections were automatically interrupted. I don't know why. Were interrupted. I'll be streaming when at any time we start talking. So please, the co-host should try not to interrupt the stream. But we need to just round up now. The president will be briefing us this evening more. I'm still waiting to see if the message from Professor Potter. You have not sent any message to me to know have we started. Please, can you send a message? I cannot hear you from the Zoom, but I think I could. I'm not connected directly in the Zoom. Have we started already? What is happening, please? We were disconnected abruptly, so please try to talk to us so that we know what to do in the studios, please.
Yes.
Okay, but Mbeseha, please, you want to react on that? Let me correspond with them to know what is happening.
Okay, very briefly. You see, the ABC, before we get to ABC, let us be reminded that when the fourth conclave created the interim government, they mentioned in that fourth conclave that their voice of communication was going to be SCBC. But shortly after Sisiku was taken off, SCBC, it turned out, was not a communication voice for the people. It was a private enterprise because it is written there that it should be privatized. Based on that, SCBC would not give President Sako the platform on which to address the people. That's how ABC was created in replacement of SCBC. What difference does it make? Because we're paying the bills for SCBC as a government, the interim government then, we paid $14,000 and more. And then we transitioned to ABC, which now became the people's voice, this government voice, funded by us, run by us. We have a whole board that runs it. And so over the years, we have had three platforms at least. We have the SCBC, which is still hanging out there, but does not represent the voice of Ambazonia. We have, after the coup plotting, we have Mr. Anu, who created his own forum, ABS, African Broadcasting Service. They're out there. Some people follow them, follow SCBC, but they don't replace ABC. ABC is people funded. Programs on ABC are people organized. And so you should be encouraged to visit ABC for the true information about the struggle of Amazonia. And if you have any comments to make about ABC, you are free to make them. You are free to make suggestions. I'm one of those who appears often, at least on the news. We like criticism, but your criticism should be positive and come in with suggestions. And don't compare us at any time with SCBC or with ABS, because these are privately funded groups. We don't know how they get their money. Their programs are theirs. And so ABC is the right voice of the people. Come here. This is not the only program on ABC. This Saturday program is not the only one.
By Mbeseha, I wish I had. By Mbeseha, I wish we had all the.
Yeah,
Okay, land 30 seconds.
Visit other programs there. We have so many programs on ABC. We have the Undaunted, it's just one. We have History. We have the Horizon. We have so many programs that are educational. Be free to visit us. Be free to give your suggestions. We will address them, but you should be very, very positive when you suggest. Again, don't make the mistake to compare us with ABS. Because ABS, I go there sometimes, they're just talking. I went there, for example, let me give you an example to close up. I went there when they brought their referendum thing. They thought there would be no referendum. Where did they go? They went to the law firm in Washington, D.C., Hudson Institute, to teach them referendum. After teaching them, what did they do next? Nothing. The last thing I saw with them last week, they were discussing a universal jurisdiction with their own lawyers there. What did they do? Their lawyers were telling them what universal jurisdiction is. They did not know it had come to ABC. They would have realized that we had discussed universal jurisdiction. We had gone further to file actions under the universal jurisdiction. And so we are people who discuss and act. We don't just discuss for nothing. If they were a true thing, if they had asked their famous man, Sama Thomas, they would have told Sama Thomas, if we were honored, would have told him that we had filed a universal jurisdiction court case in Belgium using the name of Sama Thomas. And so they talk and they don't act. But if we come here, if you come to us, we'll tell you what we have done as a government. And to conclude this, going back to the last segment, about this draft thing, county, LGAs, and the federal government. Let's not forget that this county, LGAs, and the federal government was the conception of President Sarko from the Berlin Conference. And so that is organigram. He cannot venture to destroy the very organigram he created. He will make the best use of it. There was nothing like that in the struggle of Ambazonia, not under Sarko, not under Sisiko, not under anybody. The other person who tried to do something was Mr. Cho Ayaba, who created something he called block by block, which had no meaning. So again, counties, LGAs are by definition the creation of President Sarko. We'll do the best to use them. We have the money through the draft. We know where it goes. We know how it is accountable. Over to you.
Yes, thank you very much. You have seen all the payment portals. We want to appreciate everybody that has been giving. Thank you for your contributions. I wish I had an opportunity to share with what you have just been saying, Barrister Mbeseha. But I believe that in the course of tonight, we'll be given the opportunity to talk to the stakeholders in the Zoom meeting. I'm calling on all those who are watching us now on Facebook and on YouTube and at the home front, that to continue to, you may want to join the Zoom if you're even at the home front, but we're going to be streaming live at the home front. But we will only come back live again when the president will be addressing the nation this evening. Thank you for watching. Commander Willy, you may not have any contributions to make. Thank you. See you in the Zoom meeting, please. Just join us in the Zoom meeting, please. We don't have time. We've exhausted every minute we have.
It's another year and another Independence Day for a people at war. Once again, the time has come for Ambazonians across the globe to unite and celebrate their independence on October 1st. A day of pride, hope, and renewed purpose is upon us.
As we mark this significant occasion with cultural representations, dances, military parades from the Ambazonian State Army, all eyes will turn to the leader of the revolution.
Fellow Ambazonians, patriotic diasporans, I salute all of you gathered around our flag on this national day, our Independence Day.
President Samuel Ikome Sako on the eve of Independence Day. Join us on September 30th at 8 p.m. as President Samuel Ikome Sako addresses the nation.
Today, as the never again generation, we have one assignment: to right this great wrong through the sword of justice, with the flame of our courage and the undying spirit of our righteous resolve. So whether we live or die, let it be for Ambazonia.
In these trying times, amidst an 8-year conflict with La République du Cameroon, President Sako's words are expected to spark hope and chart a new direction.
Let me tell you again in a simple language. The person who does not want his neighbor to sleep should expect a knock on his door.
While the date for the war to end remains uncertain, brace yourselves for a roadmap towards a smarter prosecution of our liberation movement, a vision full of promise and determined leadership. Prepare to be inspired as we honor our journey and look forward to a brighter future.
To remind the world of our genocide and the injustice done to us as a nation by France and the complicit international community. Share our story with passion and courage, knowing that no one feels our pain more than we do, and no one knows our story more than those who have lived it, us. Let us fight as one man.
Tune in live across all multimedia platforms and catch this monumental speech only on your favorite TV channel. Don't miss this pivotal moment. Together, let's reignite the spirit of Ambazonia.
This Independence Day, immerse yourself in the words of our leader. Be part of history in the making.